Hey YouTube, Gareth here, and I'm bringing you a review I've been waiting 2 years to do. That's because a couple of years ago Apple brought out the watch and it wasn't that good. So the Apple Watch Series 2 is here, and with GPS on board, waterproofing, a faster processor, a better screen and the same price, this could be the watch that actually makes smartwatches, you know, a thing. So let's delve inside and see if that's actually true. Let's kick off with the design of the Apple Watch Series 2, and as you can see, it's very similar to before, to the fact it's actually nearly identical apart from the fact it's 1mm thicker. That's because Apple's chucked in the GPS chip in there and a larger battery. So technically it's actually quite a decent achievement to have the same frame and have all the extra features in there. The heart rate monitor on the back is exactly the same. That hasn't changed, and that's unfortunate because it wasn't that great last time around. On the side here we've got the speakers. Now these are clever because these speakers actually eject water. We haven't managed to make them do it yet exactly, but when you submerge the watch and you want to turn it back on again, to get the water out, it makes a funny little noise, and then apparently water can actually drip out the side. That's pretty cool, and I like it when little novelty stuff like that pops up. In terms of the screen, Apple's gone for the same curved OLED design that goes into a square shape, and while it's not much different, the screen brightness is improved. Now it's 1000 nits, which doesn't mean much to most people. In real terms, that means that in the bright sunlight you can see exactly what's on the screen. And that's exactly what happened during the review. Every time I looked at this watch, every time I flicked my wrist, I could see everything. And not just see it, but see it absolutely clearly, like I was looking at it in a dark room. So Apple's done exactly the right thing there in terms of making that a lot more nice to look at. In terms of the snappiness of this thing, Apple's pushed in a dual-core processor, which means it's 50% faster than the Apple Watch Series 1. Now, the day-to-day use doesn't really make a lot of difference, but when you're snapping around the watch, opening and closing different apps, there is a definite change to the way the speed things works. Also, when you're putting the watch down and then lifting it back up again, the raise to wake is definitely a little bit quicker. It's a little bit more accurate. And so, while it's annoying that the Apple hasn't put an always-on display so you can always see the time, raising your wrist to have a look at it means that, I don't know, 99 times out of 100, whenever I flick my wrist, it turned on straight away. I found I didn't really hate it anywhere near as much as I did the Apple Watch Series 1. Any regular viewers of TechRadar's reviews on YouTube will see that I love running. I love fitness gadgets, I love wearables, and I run every day. So therefore I need a watch that can keep up with that. Now Apple's put GPS in this thing, which means that finally it could be a watch that I can wear without the phone strapped to my wrist. If I just want to go out for a quick run, it works really well. Now, the GPS on this is very accurate. Apple's gone for not just GPS but GLONASS as well, which is the Russian satellite, so it's got more satellites that it can actually ping from. And I found the accuracy to be actually superb. If you benchmark it against the Garmin, which I use day to day, or a TomTom or a Polar, it was almost identical. You know, there's some small variations, but it was pretty much identical, even though I was only using the basic Quick Start workout app. The issue I've got is I don't know when this thing's connected to GPS. Apple says that the whole idea is that you just fire up this app, click a button and off you go. Now that's a problem because I want to know that I'm actually getting accurate tracking, because yeah, Apple tells me that sure, it can use the accelerometer to work out exactly how far I'm going before it gets the GPS. I'd love to know exactly when that GPS is in there and when I'm getting actual accurate data. But like I said, I couldn't really fault it. During the whole course of the testing this day after day, it was perfect, all the distances were nearly accurate, and yeah, I think Apple's done a really great job in making this a good running watch. The problem Apple's got is that right now, only the workout app, its own stock app, can really make use of this GPS chip. So there aren't any other apps that I can use to say upload to my favourite websites, to my own services that I use to track all my running. Apple's workout is really basic, and while yeah, it's good for a lot of people, it's not good enough for everybody. So the heart rate monitor on the Apple Watch Series 2 is the same as before. You've got the 4 LEDs here that firelight below the skin so they can see exactly what your pulse is doing. The idea being that you don't need a chest strap, you can run along with this watch and it's perfectly good at telling you how fast your heart is beating. It's really terrible. The Apple Watch Series 1 wasn't any good, and the Apple Watch Series 2 is equally the same. I'm running along, I'm starting to run, and it's saying straight away I'm going miles, I'm going to the absolute maximum, I'm jogging along. There was something just really sad about the fact that it just couldn't get it, and while I know there's some variation, some people might find it easier than others, this is definitely one of the poorest watches I've seen in terms of heart rate monitoring, and you know, the only way to make it really effective is to use a chest strap, which you can connect to, but Apple really still needs to improve that technology. One of the new features of watchOS 3, which comes to both of the watches, but is really good on the Watch Series 2, is Breathe. Now this is just a really simple way to make you a little bit more relaxed day to day. It just incites you to breathe for a minute, 2 minutes, however long you want. So you sit there, you start, and it will just literally get you to focus your attention on your breath. And then the watch has a lovely little haptic feedback underneath that vibrates to let you know to breathe in and to breathe out. I found myself actually getting quite excited when the breathe out would pop up and say it's time to do this, because it's so different to the, hey, look, start moving now, because who cares about moving? With breathing, you can do it anywhere, and it really kind of relaxes you and gives you a heart rate at the end, so it's almost like a score that you can try and better every single time. Competitiveness during relaxation, that's something I like. One of the big things Apple's had to improve, but done it secretly, is the battery life improvements. Because, yes, the chassis is the same shape, but there's a bigger battery in there, and it's got GPS, so this battery life has to be better. The good news is, it really is. So using the watch for 3.5 hours on a run, you've got 50% battery loss. That's incredible. So that means that you could run for a 7-hour marathon and you'd still have just enough left. We did turn off the heart rate monitor to see just how far we could eke it out. So even with all the functions running, that means you can probably get 4.5, 5 hours of running with this watch. That's very good. On top of that, that means if you don't run every day, which let's be honest, most people do and shouldn't, you can actually get, I'd say, at least 2 days worth of battery life. I ran a 5k and then another 5k the next day and a little top-up run, and I still managed 42 hours of battery life from charge to going completely dead. And actually that's not true, it wasn't completely dead, it went into power reserve mode, so the watch was still functioning as a watch until you could get back to get to the charger. So I'd say this is a 2-day battery life, which is oddly an underestimation from Apple, who say, you know, all-day battery. So in terms of one of the key features of this watch, battery life is definitely up there. So that's the Apple Watch Series 2, and it's a mixed bag, isn't it? Because on the one hand, it's still a smartwatch, it's still expensive, and with smartwatches you get notifications on the wrist, a few apps. No one really needs it nowadays still, even though things have come forward. But with the running and fitness side of things, Apple has pushed stuff forward. The GPS is a very good addition, the battery life is much improved, and waterproofing does just help with durability, and if you like to go swimming, that's there too. The question is whether you really need it as a device. No, it's not. It's a luxury item. It's a novelty. It's something you get for Christmas or for birthday, and you couldn't really say necessity of spending all that money just to have it as an extra screen for your iPhone. So if you want it, buy it. If you don't feel that you really need it, you'll get by without it. So what do you think? Is the Apple Watch Series 2 the watch for you? Let us know in the comments below. And as ever, thank you for liking. Thank you very much for subscribing. And as ever, keep it locked to Tech Radar for all the stuff to put on your wrist.